Welcome back, guys. Another episode of Tall and Taller. Another episode we'll be talking, not talking directly about the Michigan football team itself and game, but we'll be talking a little bit about the early National Signing Day that took place on Wednesday. Um, Michigan receiving an NOA from the NCAA, and talk a little bit about Jim Harbaugh's future with the university. Um, but first, um, Merry Christmas to y'all, and we'll get right into it. Early National Signing Day happened on Wednesday. Michigan goes 27 for 27 on the signings. I mean, no one flipped, no one did anything like that, um, which, in my opinion, is huge for this team. Between the 27 recruits, there's 18 4 stars, 9 3 stars. Um, but that seems like it's always been Jim Harbaugh's mantra. Is getting the lower recruits and being able to produce with them. So, what was your thoughts on early National Signing Day as it is, um, Ben?
So, I think it's a good class. I think that it was a little bit surprised we're ranked as low as we were. 15 to 17, I think, depends on who you wanted to listen to.
Yeah,
And that
Rival says
doesn't
it's
bother me
18th,
because that's,
24/7
you know,
has us the 14th, and On Three has us the 17th.
I think, that's part of the reason what took Harbaugh so long to get going was, he's a development guy, right? That's what he does. A lot like what Beeline does. Um, you know, he'll cast a line for these um, 5 stars, but they're not at the top of his list. Um, he's just as happy. It kind of stands out, but I think that not necessarily the suspensions and the allegations, but that he hasn't signed a contract yet probably hurt us with some of the big guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll see how it plays out. But I think all in all, great class. We seem to get exactly what we needed. Big class, right? 27 people, like you said. So um, we'll see what
Yeah,
happens. I forget what we're losing this year, but we're losing a lot too. I want to say it was in the 30s, but I can't remember.
well, yeah, we returned a lot of starters last season. So, I mean, the translation to that is probably in the upcoming year you're going to lose a lot. But I mean, like you said though, he filled out a lot. I mean, he hit the areas. We hit the areas that we're going to need needed. Um, we got uh, a great offensive line class, honestly. I mean, with Andrew Sprague, Luke Hamilton, Blake Frazier, as your 4 stars in that class. But um, at least in high school, they were dogs. Hopefully, they continue with that. Even the other two, Ben Roebuck and Jake Guanera, if that's how you say his name. Um, I mean, you have your whole entire offensive line just right there at 5 people
Right.
in one class. And I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, we got that transfer out of Maryland, Jeremiah Beasley, which is a huge pickup in my
Huge
opinion.
pickup. Yep.
Um, and then who's the one? I can't even think of who it was now. Oh, Jacob Oden, that DB. Um, I mean, it was a good class, like you said. We were there. Like I said, we ranked 18th by rivals, 14th by 24/7, and 17th by On Three. Um, so I mean, a top 20 class is always going to be able to get you to where you need to be in college football. I mean, yes, it kind of answered the question I was going to ask you here. Um, even after the 3 Big 10 titles, we still can't recruit the 5 stars and get the 5 stars to come in like consistent rate as you see your Alabamas and all that. I was going to ask you what the problem was, whether it was the NIL, Harbaugh not signing a contract, or the allegations. But you kind of answered that without me asking.
Yeah.
Be probably more to the contract.
So I think that NIL is a big part of it too, and I think I think it goes both ways. It's part of why we aren't getting guys, and it's part of why we are not recruiting those guys as hard because the majority of those guys are looking for basically a signing bonus up front is what it is. Um, and Michigan flat out refuses to do that. And I agree with it, except for the fact that I agree with it in principle. I just don't think that it, it's it's a good long term model to stay competitive. Either the rules got to change or we got to adapt or die, right?
Mhm.
But I think more than anything, um, I think we got who we wanted, and not to say we wouldn't love to have those guys, but I just think that plays a major role in it. And I think it was an On3 I was looking at yesterday, um, lists the average NIL per recruit, what each school averages for the NIL, and I don't know if that's starters, the whole team, or whatever. But Michigan was like 84,000, and your Georgias and your Bamas and stuff were, I believe it was above 150. It was rated in that range, so almost double of what their basic recruit, I'm assuming, is getting. And especially for your guys that may not necessarily make it to the league. Um, that's a tremendous amount of money difference.
Mhm.
That could be, their potential football earnings. All they earn it through football. So I understand it. We've talked about this a million times. I don't think it's good for the game. I think the model needs to change. Um, and it sucks when we refuse to play by the same set of rules that
Everybody else.
the other big dogs are playing by, and there's no doubt about it hurts us. But again, you go back to before NIL. The SEC primarily in football, anyways, was handing out bags and bags and bags,
Mhm.
and you can't tell me that we couldn't come up with some people that would do that. I think we just that was a fundamental law for us. Hey, we're not doing that. Um, Man, we lost somebody big, and we almost lost Peppers because of that. Um, I want to say Peppers was. We almost
It
lost
was
him.
Najee. It was Najee Harris
Yeah,
that we lost
Najee
to
Harris
Alabama.
lost to Alabama. Yep.
He flipped on the last day, which
Yeah, and
there's
he
no
was he
doubt.
was he was 100% Michigan.
Yeah, and you don't flip on the last day like that. I mean, not knowing, not getting more cash and what cash in your
Right,
pocket.
right. And I'm not saying that we're holier than thou or innocent in all this, but
We
I,
weren't willing to give out the money that
right.
bigger
I
schools were.
think there was boundaries set then, and there's boundaries set now. Sam Webb and some other people have talked about that. It's been made abundantly clear to everybody that we're not gonna pay for play. We're an academic school first, which again, I endorse that, but it still hurts us, and
Hmm.
um, we're gonna see January 1st how much it does hurt us, because the difference. The difference is usually two or three players on a team are better than the rest of the team. That they're the difference makers, right?
Hmm.
And I do think that Alabama probably has that edge. I think I keep going back and forth, but I think
Well,
we're probably going to win that game. But I think it's going to be a
I think it's
dog
gonna
fight.
be like I said, it's gonna be a dogfight. And like I've told like the past 2 weeks since we've known about it, we did the show. I think we both said this, but whoever wins that, I think wins the national championship. I don't think there's any doubt in my
Absolutely.
mind. I mean, I don't. Washington and Texas are kind of in the position that Michigan kind of was last year, where honestly Washington should win that game, but I don't think they do. I think Texas wins. Kind of where they should win, but they won't. And it's honestly so hard to tell, especially now, like with you don't know what team's what and what team's going to even show up that day.
Right.
Alabama, I mean, again, not the Alabama of the past 8 years or 10 years,
No.
15 years, whatever. Um, but they're still a threat. But I mean, if they come and play Alabama football, how they played against UCF or USF, um, Auburn, they almost lost to somebody else not very good in the SEC,
Yep.
but they play like that, and we play how we did against early in the year, where we um then it could definitely go the other way around, but we could come out and play how we played against. You'll say, I honestly don't know because we didn't really play a bad game this year. I don't think it was more just it was our play scheme and what we were doing worked, so why change it?
Yeah. And,
Especially in the
I,
last four
I think
games.
it was the Maryland game wasn't a very good game. Um, but, no coach looking ahead to Ohio State.
That's the
Uh,
biggest trap game of the year.
you know, it's understandable. And, every team has a game or two every year like that. My biggest concern about Alabama is Coach Saban, and you give him 30 days to prepare. It's going to be a dogfight. But I think the same thing with Harbaugh and his staff. You give them 30 days to prepare. We're just going to see who can add enough wrinkles and enough adjustments to still stay true to who they are as a team, but um, maybe gain a little bit of an advantage here and there. So that's why they play the games. We'll see. But I'm really surprised that like 95% of your sports personnel is just think we're going to get absolutely rolled. And
But I mean, do you blame them for what's happened in the past 2 years?
and
I
I
mean,
guess
year one against Georgia, I mean, yeah, cool, but we're on a consistent. Georgia was just a better team that year. Last year, I don't know what happened. We got away from what we were doing all season for some reason.
I think
Um,
we got too cocky. We tried to get too tricky, and the
it
players
just
thought they could just show up and win that. And by the time they realized they were in a dogfight, it was too late.
yeah, they just barely didn't have enough time. Um, I think I know, but I mean, I don't blame them really at all though for some of their takes. Like fucking Paul Feinbaum, dude's an idiot.
He is, but
That's just one thing. I'm like, dude, just shut up, please.
I read something not too long ago, like in the last week or so, where he admitted, and I mean, we all knew this or assumed this, but that he talks about what the SEC tells him to talk about, and
Well, yeah, he's
and
part of the SEC network.
and that and then um, that a lot of his Harbaugh slander has come from that, and he's like, listen, Harbaugh's a great coach, but I just think that most of the stuff that I say, I don't really believe. I'm doing this for engagement and ratings and clicks. He didn't say that verbatim. But that was basically his message, and um, it makes sense because we're the SEC's biggest competition, right? The Big Ten, and there's really two teams. I don't think you can take Penn State very seriously, but um, it
At least not as of now.
just shows that reporting is not what it used to be, and it's all about engagement and clicks now, instead of giving your true thoughts and opinions. And I mean that's ESPN across the board, and even now you're a big newspaper guy, read a couple papers a day, even your local papers like the Detroit News and Detroit Free Press. With this Harbaugh stuff coming out, they're writing clickbait headlines just to get engagement instead of really concentrating on reporting the facts, and that stuff just drives me nuts. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, going back on that, what I was going to comment was, I mean, especially with like the NOA stuff, a lot of people read that and thought, "Oh, great, here comes something new, another
Right.
recruiting violation," just because the way that people they word it. But I mean, like you said, though, it's the day and age that we live in.
Yep.
Um, but It is
And
what it is. So
if that doesn't prove to everybody that this is a witch hunt, I don't know what does, because they could have released that on any other day, and no one would have said anything. Coincidentally, we'll drop it on National Signing Day.
and that's one thing that I actually had put on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen my tweet that I put up. Literally right after I was sitting in the gas station parking lot when I read that, I had put up something about it being a witch hunt, and I showed and I laid everything out. I put it on Facebook too. But I laid everything out. It was when everything was announced. I mean, you go back to the original Connor Stallion stuff.
Yep,
Um, that comes out what 4 days before Michigan State,
yep,
a rival game. Yeah, we still won. Cool. It's still a bad part. Harbaugh gets a 3 game suspension on a plane to Penn State less than 24 hours before the game, and that's right before our two biggest games of the year. One being the biggest rivalry in college sports. Like two top 10 games. Like, come on, guys. And then you go back to the NOA that was received on Wednesday. Why is that got to come out on National Signing Day? Why?
right,
Makes zero sense to me.
right. That couldn't
But
have waited. That couldn't have come out the day before or waited a day. And
no.
and I will never believe that they didn't realize what they were doing. Bullshit.
Oh yeah, no doubt in my mind that they don't know that they knew what they were doing. Um, but I mean, all in all, let's get back to the early National Signing Day stuff. I mean, give your rating from what do you give it? 10 out of 10. Um, rating for our class wise, and what you think, how you think it all went on Saturday or Wednesday, I guess.
I think it went as well as could be expected. As you mentioned, we didn't have anybody flip. We didn't even have anybody leave us hanging. It appears that we mostly got who we wanted, and I think we definitely filled the needs that we needed to fill. So, I, without, I think 5 stars matter, but I don't think it's nearly as important as people tend to make it. I mean, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
if you got a guy that's twice as athletic as the next guy, he's going to eventually make your team better. But I would say 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Um, sorry you froze up, so I was trying to get you unfrozen. It just seems like I was a little blocked out there. Yeah, I mean, listen, not getting the 5 stars. I mean, but we really didn't go after. I mean, there's some places that have Jaden Davis, um, as a 5 star. Some places only have him as 4. The bigger ones have him as a 4 star. So I mean, you can almost consider him a 5 star. He was a 5 star at one point. Um, but I mean, all in all, I'm probably right there with you, but I think I'll go down a little bit. Um, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think just because of the fact that we still can't pull in the 5 stars, at least one 5 star. But
Yeah,
again, I mean, Jim, go ahead.
I think it's more that won't than can't. Um, but you know, who knows? I think it's primarily, as I said earlier, it's our refusal to do the pay for play. But
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, Michigan. I don't care who you're a fan of. I don't care what your opinion is of the university. If you can look at the 5 universities in the United States, academics, athletic, campus, by anybody's definition, Michigan's in that top 10. So, you know, so they should get at least a percentage of those 5 stars, and we do have um, JJ was a 5 star. We got a few guys. Donovan was a 5 star. I think Samaj might have been.
no,
Can't remember.
he was. Johnson was. Will Johnson was a five
Will
star.
Johnson. So
But speaking of Will Johnson, I mean, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
What I was going to say with that was, I mean, that boy needs to be doing his work to pull Damani Jackson to the University of Michigan. I mean, they were best friends when they were both in when we almost pulled both them out of high school.
Yep.
Um, but Damani went to USC and now he's in the transfer portal. I'm like, all right. I'm like, time to do your thing. Bring him here. Let's. I mean, if we were to get Damani Jackson, I don't know what that secondary would be. Pretty much a no-fly zone. You take it back to the um, kind of the Legion of Boom era, except the no-fly zone of the Seattle Seahawks, and they had Cam Chancellor and all that, Richard Sherman, all that in the back of the secondary. That's what I was going to say about
Gotcha.
Will Johnson. Was just pulling in, was trying to pull in Jackson. Um, Now I guess we'll move on to the inevitable. That is the NCAA versus Michigan. Yesterday, the NCAA. I mean, we all knew about it. Michigan receives the NOA from the NCAA for Burger Kid on Wednesday, again on National Signing Day. Um, Going off that, I mean, Michigan faces a level one violation for allegedly not cooperating with the or misleading NCAA investigators about the alleged violations. That would come down to Jim Harbaugh, so-called lying, not we've talked about it. Lying to them, not really lying. I mean, he said he doesn't remember. Um, Michigan also faces four level two violations, which are considered less serious. Um, my question for you is really, I mean, you've seen Harbaugh get the self-imposed suspension at the beginning of the year, 3 games. That's the
Yep.
exact violation. Um, what do you think comes out of this? I mean, we all know what happened. What do you think comes out of this? Do you see any more suspension time from the NCAA? Was the self-imposed enough? Do you see just fines, scholarships taken away? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think that depends on what Harbaugh's status is with the university, and that's why I think that he's gone. Um, I think if he's here, I never believed this, but I think they could go as far as vacating wins, because they have removed all doubt that this is an objective um, investigation and objective that they've handled Harbaugh objectively of it all. And you know, okay, we're guilty for our sins. I think 3 games for the cheeseburger and watching the recruits, we're having the recruits work out over Zoom, um, is bullshit, and that he misled investigators on his knowledge. Okay, fair enough. I believe he probably did that, but one, you got to prove. How can you prove that somebody remembers or doesn't? And he went in and talked to them without representation, and if he really felt like he had something to hide, I don't think he would have did that. Um, you know, they I just think it's 28 and a 25, and the NCAA is trying to make it attempted murder, and it it's just not. But there was a lot of talk out there that when the first 3 game suspension come out, that Harbaugh was highly upset with the university, threatened to quit right then, and it really ruptured the relationships within the athletic department. But he was able to calm down and talked about um, you know re-signing, and then Ono come out and said, "Hey, I want this done very soon, preferably this week," and we all thought it was going to happen. And then the NCAA or the Big Ten come out and announce their suspension, and Ono and Ward, at least publicly, all had Harbaugh's back, and that's everybody wants to be wanted, but that seems to be a major thing with him, and I think that kind of won him over.
Mm,
Getting lawyers, getting all that stuff, and changed his mind about returning, and that's why they announced the contract. But then the Big Ten announced that suspension, and you know, Ono publicly put the pressure on the regents to do that 5 or 6 weeks ago now, and 3 or 4 weeks now. There's been multiple reports saying that the ball's in Jim's court. The contract's done. He's agreed in principle to everything with the exception of the no NFL clause. And I just, if he wanted to be here, I just don't see where that's a problem because they just asked him to do it for 1 year only. Um, and if he's got a new contract, he doesn't need it for leverage, right? And maybe he's working it for leverage against the NCAA, but I think the NCAA wants him gone. I just do.
Um, I don't. I mean, it's like you said. We've had this. I want one off season of not having to think, hey, is Jim Harbaugh going to go to the NFL or not? Um, I mean, it's been like this for what 7? How long has he been here? Since 15, so 8 years now.
Yeah, but to his defense, I don't think, with the exception of the last 2 years, that's been created or encouraged by him. 2 years ago, the year prior, he had taken a big pay cut, and I think he just used that as leverage. I never really believed he wanted to go, and I think last year, because they received the notice of inquiry right around the first of the year this year, and I think that's why he did it last year. Well, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm just going to get out of here. And there was a lot of conflicting reports that he got an offer, maybe he didn't get an offer. There was interest, there wasn't interest, and I think that's all gamesmanship. I think when you have a coach with his proven track record, not only in the NCAA but in the pros, that uh, maybe there's five, for sure, less than 10 teams that wouldn't uh, make a move just to get him. I think there's plenty of interest out there. Um, I think he would step into the NFL and be a top 10 coach right away. So it's just become so political, and I think he's had enough, and I don't blame him. And coaching in the NFL will be a lot easier, a lot
Oh yeah, you
less,
don't got to deal
not
with all
not
the bullshit.
necessarily easier, but a lot less hassle for him personally.
Yeah, you don't got. Sorry. You don't really you don't have to deal with the bullshit that is the
Right.
NCAA. Period. I mean, in the NFL. I mean, like you said, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. Before the beginning of the season, while this is going on, is that I think you said then that Jim Harbaugh is probably gone. I don't think that this LA rumor about the Chargers is probably where he'll go, if anywhere. Um, I think this is more just clickbait.
So see, I think that's exactly where he go. He spent a lot of time there, right? He coached San Diego State.
Yeah.
He's still got a home in San Diego that they use for the off season. Um, I think that's exactly where it goes. I read that the only reason that he wouldn't go there is if, for some reason, the Raiders have fired their coach, and he would go to Vegas. And I always thought that the Bears were an option simply because
I mean, the Raiders
one, he
don't have an actual head coach right now.
right, one, because he played there, and two, because theoretically he could not uproot his family and commute back and forth. It's a it's
Yeah.
a it's a 40-minute flight um, to get back and forth to Ann Arbor. But all the so-called experts are saying that Chicago is absolutely not an option for him. He wouldn't leave Michigan to go to Chicago, which it could just be more generated clickbait, but that was surprising to me because I always thought that would be an option for him. And they got a decent young talent, but maybe he wants to step into something a little more.
And I don't actually think Chicago's probably looking to sell their coach anymore, get rid of their coach anymore. I mean, they're kind of in the uptrend up
They are.
recently. But I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there. I don't know. I mean, you have the New England job, you have the LA job. If I don't know if the Raiders are keeping their interim head coach or not, I couldn't remember to tell anything about the NFL honestly to remember that. So I mean, there's three jobs just right there that are open.
Yeah, I think there's absolutely no way he goes to New England. The cupboards are bare there. I don't think he's going to step into a rebuilding thing. I think he'll, San Diego's got Herbert and they got some decent young talent. I
All
don't.
right, so
I think he would go to a place that that's maybe not there yet, but they have the talent in place and they have the structure in place to maybe win in a year or two. Not you know New England is a ground up rebuild. I think.
New England's a quarterback away from being a good team.
Name me 5 offensive starters.
Offensive starters, so you have Juju Smith-Schuster, you have Devontae Parker, um, Ezekiel Elliott, Mac Jones, David Andrews. You want me to keep going, or
Sure.
yeah? Thank you. I win.
And none of those guys are. I mean, Ezekiel was, but he's on the downside now. None of those guys are Pro Bowl like type talent.
But Mac, and I mean, fine. You have Hunter Henry. There's plenty of fucking talent on that team. Mac Jones is just ass.
Right.
Anyways,
But yet you named him.
did you said a quarterback? He don't even start technically. So no, Bailey Zappi. Happy? He ain't been starting for the past 3 weeks.
My
Anyways,
point, so they have a serviceable defense, right? Pretty decent, good defense even. But I think they're a couple drafts away from being able to compete. And I don't, by the way, today's Jim's Harbaugh's 60th birthday. Happy birthday, coach.
58th.
Huh?
His 58th birthday.
Okay. Why don't you Google that real quick?
I literally just made a post on Facebook about it. And fucking Michigan football, Matt. Oh my god, why? How is Michigan football gonna fuck that up? No, it's 60. It's 60. Don't worry.
Oh, I know.
How did Michigan football fuck that up? I don't even know where I posted that at. I know it was on Facebook. Anyways, yeah, no, yeah. Happy birthday. Yes,
Happy what birthday?
I'm showing you something right now because I'm a little upset over this. Oh, never mind. I hate University of Michigan football.
Oh, they didn't post it right?
No, well, kind of. I'll show you. Hang on a second. I'll show you what the fuck they did. They're assholes. Um, no, this is what they did. They crossed out the
number
fucking
58.
58. Yeah, it's on the screen.
Right.
That's so stupid. Anyways, um, where were we at? Oh, Jim Harbaugh. No, so I think with that, I wouldn't rule him out going to New England. Here's why. Let me explain. Bill Belichick's gone. Bill Belichick's, I don't think, done coaching. I think Bill Belichick goes to LA, has a
And
set
that's a
system with the
distinct
quarterback,
possibility.
and I think he'll have some good success there. This is also why I think he goes to New England. I believe New England drafts J.J. McCarthy if J.J. McCarthy comes out. Why wouldn't he want to go follow his quarterback all the way that he had all the way through college and go win a Super Bowl with him, especially if they win a national championship this year because J.J. McCarthy will win a Super Bowl as an NFL quarterback. Just saying.
So, and that's an intriguing thought. If he believes that JJ is going to be a good to great NFL quarterback. I could see that happening, and that would probably be enough there to lure him there. But that's the only way I see it.
Yeah, I know it's probably not wouldn't actually happen, but that was just a wild thought, and that thought honestly just came through my head as we were talking about that.
Yep.
Here's another wild thought. I don't think JJ McCarthy leaves this season.
Oh, he's gone.
I don't think he is.
Especially, I would pretty confidently just about bet my life that Harbaugh's not coming back. And I think if Harbaugh's gone, why does JJ want to stick around? He's a first round pick for sure, right? And probably top 15 to 20. Why does he want to stick around for a coach that he doesn't know who it is, unless they told them, hey, it's
It's gonna be
Sharon.
Sharon. I don't see anybody else getting the head coaching job other than Sharon. But I'm about to sneeze. Hang on. Okay, apparently not. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he leaves, and I think that's good. I also think that's why we aren't um, really chasing after a transfer quarterback unless they think Jaden Davis is going to come in and start right away, or Alex Orji is going to be able to start, or someone that's on the team right now is going to be able to start. I don't know. We'll see.
We will for sure see. That's the beauty of
I
it.
don't know. Yeah.
I just don't see. I don't see him coming back unless it's Sharon, and then it's possible that he stays. But I just, he was on. There was an interview with him, and he said, Coach Harbaugh had asked him what if he wanted to talk about the future, and he said no, he's only focused on beating Bama, which is great to read about, but I don't buy it either. You're not as successful he is, and not at least thought, hey, I wonder if I should. I'm not saying he's made up his mind, but to say that he hasn't even thought about it, I don't believe is true either.
I mean, he just hasn't probably looked into depth about it. But I mean, we'll see on all that. Um, so I mean, definite answer: Jim Harbaugh staying or going.
He's gone, absolutely
All right.
gone.
Jim Harbaugh
I
is going to be
would
the
feel
coach of
very
Michigan next season.
confident betting you a kick in the nuts on a live action podcast for that.
That's really tempting, but I don't want to do that. I think he stays. I think this is all clickbait still. Um, there's stuff that we, as much as it wouldn't surprise me to see him leave, I think he stays. Especially, and the thing I just thought about is how and why would all 27 recruits actually sign with the University of Michigan if there was any doubt?
Well, one, because he lies to him, right? Or two, he said, "Hey, I'm leaving, but this is." I don't think he would tell him he's leaving, but if I do leave, this is the plan in place, and it's of course Sharon's gonna make his own decision, but our beliefs are basically aligned, and you're not gonna see too many major changes here. You're still gonna fit with our program.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's gone though. I hope not. I don't want to. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Guess we'll start wrapping up the show. I mean, I got two more little things. Um, the Pistons. Is it safe to say the Pistons will ever win again?
They might not win. They might not win 5 to 7 games this year.
They've only won what, two?
Yeah,
And it was like two out of the first three they won, and then
right. You were
absolutely
talking
shit the bed.
playoff bound, playoff bound.
No, I was not
Yes,
talking playoff
yes,
bond
you
about the
were.
fucking Pistons.
I
No, I
can.
would never ever
Yes,
do
you
that with the
were. I
Pistons.
can go back and find the text.
I would never ever do that with the Pistons. I would do it with like the Red Wings. or the Tigers right now. I might have said something like, "Oh, if they keep this up, they might be a playoff team." But holy hell, that is just a shit show in Detroit right now. I wouldn't have thought after the drafts that we've had we'd be this bad. Never would think a day in my life that we would be this bad. Are you really looking up text messages right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Uh, I mean, so in our text message, there is only one text message with the word Detroit and Pistons in it. I'll look up Pistons, and it's from May 16th, when the Pistons got fucked out of the number one overall pick and got the fifth pick in the draft.
I got 12.
Okay, well I typed in Detroit. Now I see more. But lotteries. Oh, well, that's New Orleans. No, there's nothing in here. Nothing in here is
We
me.
stay healthy on, hang on here, 10, 26, 23.
He will be good.
I can see us making the playoffs.
No, fuck. Where? On what date?
October 23rd.
That's such bullshit. That's not real. Because mine goes from, well, the Pistons fucked the pickup to October 25th. The Pistons only have four people that are older than me. What the fuck happened in life?
Yeah, they had 17 wins last year, and there's no way they beat that.
Oh, no, not at all. Anyways.
There's no way. You want to know what's funny is I think Monty Williams is a great coach, right? But he pretty much said that he didn't want to be here, but Tom Gores made him an offer too good to turn down. And
Sell the team.
and fair enough, he come out today saying, "Hey, that's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not selling the team. We're trying to do something here. Changes need to
You're
be
trying
made."
to do something for how long, dude? It ain't working.
Right. It's an ownership problem. And the last, 5 to 7 years, I feel like he has spent money trying to, but the decisions haven't worked out. From Dwayne Casey to he's hired good coaches. Monty Williams has been a hell of a coach, right? But the difference between him and Dwayne Casey is Monty's got a lot less wins, and he I just feel like he doesn't want to be here, and he is not making his best effort. And perhaps there's some rupture, some problems with the team chemistry or whatever. Cade's definitely not the answer, and everybody thought he was. I think he's a great superstar.
Bullshit. I called that shit from the day he was drafted. He was going to be a fucking bust. We can go back on that.
I'm pretty sure you loved the pick. I didn't love it.
Fuck no. I hated that pick.
And he's going to be a good
remember
12, 15-year player as long as he can remain healthy, but he's just not the guy to put the team on his back and carry. I mean, I'm not criticizing him as a player necessarily. He's not that guy. And I think Duran is probably the best player on our roster right now. He's not the most consistent, but at least maybe the most talented, the one that has the brightest future. Ivy, not impressed with him, and I like that pick. But who just beat us the other night? Utah.
I don't know. We've lost a lot of games. I mean, it's on here. Let me
Yeah,
look. I have it all.
they
It's
sat.
on the ticker.
They sat.
Our last
Yeah,
loss was to
they
Utah.
sat like 3 starters and still beat us by 9.
Yeah, it was 119, 111.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not going to get any easier, at least for the rest of the month. I mean, back-to-back games against Brooklyn, at Boston, then home versus Toronto. I mean, I just want a good professional sports team. Just one. Not the Lions. Lions are going to choke it just like they always do.
Well,
They play today.
huh?
Do they play today,
I think so.
or do they play tomorrow?
If Goff, it might be tomorrow. I was thinking it was today though. If Goff can play relatively turnover-free football, we can win a game or two in the playoffs. If he can't, we'll be one and done because like we
Not
are
against the Niners
all.
and the Eagles. Dallas, no shot.
Oh, we can beat the Eagles. I don't know about the Niners, but we can beat the Eagles.
Mm.
Yeah, Lions play at 1.
Yeah, I thought they played today. They play the Vikings, don't they?
Yeah, they got Vikings 2 out of the last 3.
Dallas and the Vikings.
So
The Lions ain't locked up in playoff spot yet, have they?
they have a 99% chance of making the playoffs, and that would be the
That would
most
be
Lions
the
thing.
most.
It would be the most Lions thing ever for them to shit the bed. But there is like there's a they have
Oh
to lose all
shit!
3 games, right? If they win
That's
any of the
very
next 3
very.
games, they're in. But if they lost the next 3, which isn't inconceivable, because Minnesota is playing decent right now, and Dallas is a good team, but there's like 5 other things that have to go wrong for them to be out. And again, that would be the most Lions thing ever. But I don't know.
Well,
I just don't see it.
No, I figured they were pretty much locked. They just haven't locked in yet. But it's definitely not a lock for them to win the North.
No.
I'd have to go back and look, but like I mean, yeah, the Vikings kind of fucked it up last week. But I think if the Vikings went out, it would be like a tie or something, or like Green Bay wins out too, or something like that. I don't know exactly what would have to happen off the
And
top of my head.
there's a pretty decent chance that their first round game, unless they win out, is San Francisco. Just the way it's lined up, and that's not a great draw.
San Francisco should have won the Super Bowl last year with
Right. Yeah, if they didn't lose 3
already,
quarterbacks, they
yeah,
probably would have.
and I don't see them not winning it this year. But yeah, I just want to talk about the Pistons real quick. Bowl pick'ems updates. You're up 8-3, 8-3 out of 7-4 for the bowl pick'ems.
So when are you gonna eat that chip? Next week?
No, at the end of the season. Kind of mentally at the end.
The end of the football season or the end of
I
Michigan?
will. I'll tell you what. I will do it after Michigan wins the national championship the same night live on Facebook. I will do it in the stadium because I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to pay a good amount of fucking money to go over there.
To go get your heart broke.
We ain't. I ain't getting my fucking heart broke. We make the natty. We win it all. I'm gonna be walking out of Texas double burdened all the Longhorns fans. Fucking horns down, bitches. Anyways, I think that's who we play.
Yeah, I think so.
If we go to the natty, I think it's Texas, Michigan. I think that was both of our prediction. But yeah, I will talk so much shit in Houston. I will probably get. I don't know. It won't be good if we beat Alabama for me, but
well, that gives you bragging rights down there for a long time. You know what I mean?
I will shut the fuck up. Won't shut the fuck up. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if Harbaugh stays or goes. But let's decide. what are we at? Almost a week from game. Week from Monday.
Week from Monday.
Fucking
Yep.
this fucking 3 weeks has felt about 8 years long at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
um, but we'll see how it goes, and hopefully we'll be back next Saturday to talk about the game, um, and talk about everything else leading up to it that we usually do on game days, guys.
Yes, sir.
But again, have a great weekend. Go Blue, and happy birthday, Coach Harbaugh.
Happy 58th birthday, dummy.
I'm sorry, the Michigan football fucked me up.
Right.
Anyways, guys, have a good weekend.